Hi, I'm Modulated Music. Today I want to show you my Deckard's voice system. Now this system is a work in progress currently. It is something that I'm still waiting on a few modules. I'm kind of thinking about ideas on it. But I did want to show it off because there's not too many people that have a Deckard's voice, much less two of them. My whole goal here is I kind of want to recreate kind of like a Mono CS80 voice. Basically a playable synth voice. I am planning on using this with a couple of external pieces of gear, hence the vector and the expander, because I'm going to be using MIDI out. But today I just mainly wanted to showcase, noodle around the Deckard's voices. Not necessarily a complete overview on this module. There's plenty of other videos out there that have that. But what I haven't been able to find is a good video that showcases what one of these sounds like, much less two. Most of the videos I've seen, somebody just plugs a sequencer into it and just lets it go and twiddles the knobs. Sometimes it's musical, sometimes it's atonal. I just haven't found a really good video that showcases it. Now that I actually have them, I wanted to do that because I know there's people out there that want to hear what this thing sounds like. So the main parts of this patch, or this system, because it's a CS80, is actually the two layers of the voice. So on a real CS80, you don't have just one voice. You actually have two, and they're layered on top of each other. They're mixed together. They're actually run through another filter, which is why I have the MMF here. But to start, we're probably not even going to wire that thing in. I don't know if we will, but if we do, I'll put it in. They also have a ring mod. The ring mod is a Black Court module that's called the Rachel, and I actually have one pre-ordered, but they're not going to release for a couple months as of the time of this recording, so I don't have it yet. And right now, I just got this pocket operator in here. I was just goofing around, but it's going to probably go up in this spot here. And there's another weird issue I have with the Deckard's voices, and that's the fact that my normal gate out from my vector will not actually trigger the gate inputs on either module, so that's why I have a VCA. So you're going to see me use this VCA. It's just to amplify the gate signal so that when I'm playing it externally, the gate is actually going to trigger the VCA inside of the Deckard's voices. So now that I've covered that, we'll get started. So I'm going to wire a patch up real quick. As I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my gate out and I'm going to run it into here. And when I trigger my keyboard, you'll notice that my gate is coming through. So then I'm going to actually molt this signal using one of these HOSA cables to the gate input on both of my modules. There we go. I'm going to turn my mixer down here. Alright, I've got to do the pitch the same. So I'm going to use one of these. I think eventually I'm going to get a buffered molt. I do have one on order for the 1U for this pitch. But for now, this seems to do the job. So we're just going to molt that pitch 1 volt per octave into the 1 volt per octave inputs. Okay? Then I'm going to take my main out, which is the filtered output. It runs through the filter in this whole section of the module. You can use the individual waveform outputs, but they bypass all of this. And it does have a sine wave oscillator as well that's post-filter, which is pretty nice. So you can bring the bass up if you have a lot of resonance. It will, where the bass gets cut normally, you can bring in that sine wave, and that'll actually give you some bassy voice. So we'll run our main outs there. And for now, my output is actually just coming from this Reverb. I do plan on getting an actual line output and a proper mixer in here. Just haven't gotten it in yet, but we're going to leave the mix all the way down for now. Let's see if we can hear it when I turn one of the oscillators up. Sweet. So, just for a quick overview, you've got your pulse width modulation section here on the modules. Then you have your main oscillator choices. You got your square and you got your sawtooth. If you flip them down, they're introduced. So Then you have a high pass filter with resonance and a low pass filter with resonance. You have this initial level and attack level, I think is what those stand for, the IL, AL. I really don't know exactly how these work, but I just normally find a place that I set them where it sounds good, and that's for the filter envelope. Then you have your attack, decay, release. Short is on the bottom, long is on the top. And then over here you have your pitch range. And then this is your detune. And it has like a detent in the middle. And then you have a dedicated LFO on this module, so you can put it on like your VCO. Get some warbles in there if you want. You can also control the filter or even the VCA, which is the actual volume of the module. And then, like I said, you have a sine wave. So if the VCF is all the way up, you're going to hear the filtered section. If you turn it down, nothing. And if I turn the sine wave up, you'll hear that sine wave come in. So you can just do a sine wave. And then this is your attack envelope. Your amplitude envelope, I guess I should say. All right. So we'll go ahead and, I think that's actually pretty close to the type of voice I want right now. We'll add a little bit of resonance and cutoff. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the second voice. We'll turn the second one up and turn the first one down. So now you can hear the second one. I'm just going to mix some square wave in there, maybe some noise. Take some of that. I guess I should explain what's going on with the vector here. So the vector can actually act as a MIDI to CV converter here. And what I've got, Arturia key step goes out USB into the USB. And then when you go to the part, so like if I go to part 1, as you can see I'm there, I don't have any pitches, any gates, or anything programmed. But if you hit the record menu, you can actually put record on, and I have the mode, which is through. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the source, which is USB-A, my keyboard, I'm going through to part 1. And what that actually does is it converts the USB signal, the pitch and gate, over to pitch and gate here. So that's kind of what's going on here. It's pretty basic. There's no sequence or anything running. So we'll go ahead and add the second voice. Alright, the last thing I want to do is I have this LS1 light strip, which is just like a CV controller, and as you move up it introduces more CV. So I'm going to put that on my Brilliance input, which is actually going to control kind of the it's going to control kind of the cutoff. So you can hear it when I turn it on. So it'll go only as high as that. Just those. What I love doing with this thing is recording an input, so you can record like an input here, and then when I let go of it, you'll see it's kind of circulating. All right, and the last part of this patch is my Z-Verb. Now, when I did my research, I was going for obviously the Blade Runner sound, because that's what everybody knows the CS80 for. And I found that Vangelis actually is an early reverb. I forget the model and make now. But through my research, I found out they do make a clone of it. It's a desktop pedal. It's like a $900 pedal, and I really couldn't justify that in a reverb. Maybe one day, but for right now, I can't do that. So what I've done is I got this Z-Verb, and the Z-Verb has a bunch of digital algorithms in it from the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. And it has one in particular, which is called Earliest Verb, which is supposed to be like a clone of the early studio reverbs from the 70s, which is exactly what Vangelis was using when he did Blade Runner, and he actually used that here. So I'm going to start noodling, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce some of the reverb, and you'll be able to kind of hear what it sounds like. I'll twiddle with the settings a little bit here. Think that showcases why I love this thing. It sounds so freaking good. tell it's super, super bright. So I'm going to go ahead and add in this last filter just so you can kind of get an idea of what it can kind of do to tame that brightness and that sharpness. Because it's a very bright oscillator. I think, oh, it's a high pass output. That is my fault. Low pass. I'll just turn it down just a little bit. I don't think we need to add any resonance because I don't believe the original post filter had a resonance control. Well, I think that kind of showcases what I wanted to showcase here. It just sounds really, really good. And I actually have this, just for funsies, I'll do this. I think it's that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run that into there. And I actually have, this is like a, should be the lo-fi. It's a new algorithm for the FX Aid. I'll go ahead and for the last little bit here, I'm going to just generate a little pattern. So shift generate. And I'm going to go to my gate. I'm going to turn a few of these gates down because I don't want to hear those notes. Let's see what that sounds like. This is, I think, at a pretty low temp, 83 BPM. So let's see what that sounds like. I think you get the idea here. got really eerie real quick. Well, I think that is a good demonstration of what the Deckard's voice can sound like when you don't just run a straight sequencer over it and you actually play it like it's meant to be played. The other thing I can do with this setup is I could actually split the voices and use them as two separate notes to do kind of like paraphonic stuff, I guess is what you would call it. Well, it's not really paraphonic, it's fully polyphonic, but it's only two-note poly, because they have their own filter, they have their own VCA and all that stuff, so... but I am super happy with these Deckard's voices. I can't wait to get my ring mod. I've got some utility stuff on the way, and this system is well on its way to being complete. I just wanted to show it off. It is a work in progress, but I know that a lot of people are interested in these Deckard's voices, and I wanted to kind of give a really good showcase of what they can sound like if they're played musically. Alright, I guess that's it. This has been Modulated Music. I hope you have a good one, and I'll check you in the next one.